שלום וברכה, בעזרת השם נעשה ונצליח והוא ברחמיו עלינו ירוויח. This part of the introduction, I would like to touch a few subjects that are very fundamental subjects that probably will bring us into a higher level of understanding how things works in relation to the Creator and the creation, and a bit of how the harmony of creation is structured. As the Rambam tells us, Maimonides was one of the great scholars. He was an amazing scholar. And as he told us in the Yesod of the Torah, he said that to know Hashem need to observe nature, and to know the creation as nature, to know the nature of creation, to see who is the one that created all of this amazing wisdom. And to understand how does it work, I will bring a small example that will explain how things work in relation to the natural harmony. Like the concept that I was explaining before, that we are all one, the whole creation is actually one thing together, it works like a big organism, and each contributes to the holiness of it. And the holiness is altogether is the will of Hashem, basically. So, to explain that, I will use one of my favorite personal examples. I call it the banana tree. If you take a banana tree and you have a monkey comes and jumps from a tree to tree and reaches the banana tree. As he reaches the banana tree, he grabs the banana and he takes the skin, peels it off, and throws it on the ground. And he eats it. Now, in that action, what actually happened? The skin of the banana went into the ground and joined the soil and actually contributed to the natural fertilization of that soil that eventually will go back to the tree. And the monkey, as a living being, also has droppings. He ate, so now he has some droppings, some waste. So his dropping goes into the ground, also becomes the fertilizer. So to understand what happens here, and also I would like to show you a little game of Kabbalistic words, how everything is in Kabbalah, in the wisdom of Kabbalah, how it's structured, because in Lashon HaKodesh, in Hebrew, everything is structured exactly the way the letters represent each one of a wheel. So just to explain you a short process that happens within a tree, for example, like as photosynthesis. What happens in photosynthesis? In photosynthesis, there is a water comes from the roots to the tree, and there is a chlorophyll inside the leaf. That's the green thing on the tree's leaves that absorb the light and produce during the day oxygen, during the night produce carbon dioxide. So to explain how it comes, like how is it related to this little example, like we take the word mayim, which is water, that what takes the root from the ground, like the word mayim, maim yud maim. Maim yud maim, that is the actual structure of the atomic structure of how water, which is two hydrogen and one oxygen, right? Men, meiman, men, meiman. So basically two men and one yud should appear. We'll understand why this now. Now the word light that comes from the sun, the word light, which comes from the sun in Hebrew, it's or. Or it's aleph vav resh. And what the tree does, it takes the yud from the mayim and lifts the yud from the mayim and mix it in the oil. And then what we get, the word avir, which is oxygen. So just a little example, just off track, to explain how all these things are just structured in a perfect way. So back into the banana tree mashal. So to see that now the trees actually need the light from the sun, and it need the soil actually needs the rain, and for the rain, the heat warm up the water that's on the surface and rise them up, like they become as a steam and become clouds, and those clouds become a rain clouds, and etc., and then it goes back down. And this little monkey, he presents a one piece of this big puzzle, but this piece is like you cannot do without it, because if you take the monkey, which contributes to the fertilization of the land, and then the actual skin of the banana, which contributes a different layer of that fertilization into the tree. And that's how basically we go into the structure of the Mishnah. The Mishnah is structured like Masechet Zirin, etc. And when the Masechet actually explain each layer of reality, that's how the Shisha Siddur Mishnah, the structure, so it will cover every little aspect of reality. And then when we go Kabbalistically, it's defined as secrecy, the inside thoughts within those concepts. Now, in this mashal, to understand how a flower works, for example, for another example, we take a flower, and there is a bee, and the bee goes from a flower to flower, and the bee has a little hairs on the little legs of the bee, like hair, and the pollen of the flower gets attached to that little hair, and then the bee goes from a flower to flower to collect pollen. And basically, from that process, what happens is actually reproducing the actual flowers. There are like feminine flowers and a male typish flowers, and all of that is structured in such a perfection, so a bee will be in a position to go from a flower to flower, and the flower will be producing the dew and the pollen that needed for the bee's needs. So anything that you take an example as one, you can always explain how it comes and merge with that reality. And that reality is interesting to understand, that when we as people, we also work the same. As when you walk and you just tripped on your foot, you actually will not just yell at your foot, listen, foot, I just tripped on you, it's your fault. No. Why? Because you're not going to yell at your foot, because it's part of your body. Same way as people, like, well, people, some do it intentionally, some doesn't do it intentionally, but it's all part of a certain position that they're prepared. Or if a dog barks on you or something like that, you're not going to tell the dog, listen, dog, why you're barking? It doesn't work like that. So, in that manner, if we understand how those things work in a big picture, we discover the wisdom that the Creator inputted within that creation. So we'll be able to experience it and to be closer to Him with the knowledge He gave us, which is to observe. And as you know, the union of observing the environment and the surrounding to you, it works like a speklaria, basically like a mirror. Whatever you see around you, it's not actually there. It's just a reflection and light that goes from the object back in to your eyes, and the eyes receive the light of the recipient. And then in the back part of your brain, it structures and creates an image. And that image is all structured within your brain, but this, as if you see it, is an external thing to you. So you will be able to perceive it. Otherwise, you will not be able to see how deep does it go and how far is the distance from point A to point B. So I would like to conclude in that little bit of introduction part, that's the third part, if I'm not mistaken, which we'll bring later on for a few sessions of the Shurim we're going to have here. And by that, I want everyone to take a little bit of time to think about all these little things that we spoke about in that introduction, and see in creation how everything merges and everything works together. And then from that you will be able to reach the level of knowledge, which is what we are searching in this excursion of ours. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again.